Estas, Krimvase Azantes, welcome video lovers, welcome to Tac Nerd 1.0. Adventurers, I thought we would talk a little bit more about air rifles and air guns today. We did a video last week, it seemed to be pretty popular with some people, so I wanted to cover a few other things because we did have some comments on that video. Or at least some of them were, well, just get this or just get that or whatever. Well, that wasn't really the purpose of the video. I got a few comments that said just get a brake barrel. Just get a brake barrel, which I have. And in fact, I have shown this one on my channel before. I think it has about 12,000 views, which for me is pretty good. So this is the B3. A pellet rifle, and it's also sometimes referred to as the Iazon. I think that's how it's called. Now, when I talked about this pellet rifle, I said that it was made in the Norinco factory. I still contend that that's true. I still think it was. It looks very much like an SKS, at least the stock does, the way it's built. Now, they have been building this same pellet rifle for many, many years. It's very popular. For the money you pay for this, it's actually put together pretty well for a nice wooden stocked pellet rifle. Now that's obviously gone up with inflation and such. I think now they're probably closer to around 75 to 80 to get this one. Now, the only thing that used to go wrong with these is the seals. You can get those now on eBay. They sell them pretty regularly. It's already dovetailed. If you want to put a scope on it, you can see I put this nice Simmons scope on it. The one thing I will say, is that the rear sight will often come loose. It's just got this pin in here, and this can often come loose. Other than that, though, it's a very good rifle. Now, this one, feet per second on this one is anywhere from probably be about 600 to 650. And that is not as high as even some of the pump guns that we have talked about previously. I've had some people say that this APX can get upwards of around, maybe 800. I know there's Gamos that can easily get up towards around 800. So that's not that great, but it's a robust rifle. It works very well. The advantages of these brake barrel designs, though, is that really all you have to do is break the barrel. Now, this one is not a typical brake barrel. You just pull this lever down, and that's how you charge it. And then you can see it reveals the chamber in there, and you put the pellet in there. But this definitely would up your game. And I think that's what we're going to entitle this video, is leveling up your airgun preps. What else you could do to kind of up your game for your airgun preps, how good they could be, what they could take. And we talked a little bit before about calibers and what you could safely take with that. I think the 17, we all pretty much agreed on. Pests, something like squirrels, sparrows, starlings, rats, such like that, with the 177 caliber. 22 caliber, you really move up into things that could really put some meat on the table. And that's, again, squirrels, but then you get into rabbits, doves, small birds, of course. Rabbits are the thing that really start to get to where, you can really put some meat on the table. I would even say small raccoons, you could probably put them down. So let's take a look at this one. This is this Beeman here, and this actually belonged to my father. He really liked this rifle, wanted it for a long time. We ended up getting it for him for, I think it was birthday or Christmas or something. Unfortunately, the problem he had with it was these do take, the way that they break, like I said, the barrel breaks, you just pull down on the barrel, and then it exposes the chamber, and then you pull it back and then put your round in and then pull it back up, and that charges it. And it's efficient because that's all you need to do to charge this. You pull it down once, put it back in, it's ready to go. And this is basically because of this valve system. It's a piston valve system. The good thing about this one is rated to 1,000 feet per second. Now that I believe that's with the 177. The 22 might be somewhat less than that, but even at that, that's pretty darn good for a pellet rifle. So again, this one's pretty good. Now the problem my father had, however, was because of his arthritis, he really couldn't pull this down. He could not actuate it. And that might be an issue for some people. If you're a smaller frame person, or if you do have arthritis or some other kind of injury, might be kind of difficult to use these. And in the field, and if you're in a survival situation, I don't know. That's something you really got to think about. Are you going to be able to use something like this because of what it takes to charge these? Again, as opposed to something like this, where it's just pump action, and the pump, each individual pump, really isn't that hard, and 10 pumps of this is probably going to get you close to 800 feet per second. If you don't have that upper body strength for whatever reason, you may have to use a pump rather than these brake barrels. This one also, this B3, same thing with this one. To pull down this lever to charge it, pretty much the same amount of pressure as the brake barrels. So now, as far as other calibers go, this is as high as I go. I don't really have anything beyond this, and I find that this serves me perfectly well. Also, we did have some people from some other countries chime in and say that, in places like England and France and such like that, this is what they're more limited to things like this. So they have some more advanced stuff that they use. Not that we can't get it here in the United States, it's just more common there. So the other when you go up in caliber, the next phase you're going to probably go up to is the 25 caliber. At that point, you're looking at things like, again, pests, but you get more into like raccoons, crows, pigeons. You're going to be at a lower velocity, probably 500 to 700 feet per second, but definitely more stopping power and more penetration. Now, what about larger air rifles? Now we start getting into stuff like the 30 calibers, like 357, such like that. Anywhere from 30 to 50 caliber, larger air rifles, and yes, they do exist. At that point, yeah, you are looking at stuff like coyotes, even wild hogs, smaller ones, mind you, raccoons, turkeys, and such like that. Of course, keep in mind, check your local laws, because believe it or not, there are some places that have more restrictions. It does happen here in the United States. They do have restrictions on hunting with air rifles. So again, check your local laws before you head out into the forest. And anyways, these larger air rifles, these are going to rely on pre-charged pneumatics. These are like PCP systems, or stuff like green gas, or I think in paintball we used to call it HPA, high pressure air, where you had a tank. It's like a mini scuba tank, and you would pressure your system like that. I think some of them use that technology. Now at that point, you're getting larger calibers, and you're getting up towards 700 to 1,000 feet per second with a heavy pellet. That is really going to give you a much wider range of things that you can hunt and put down. Some of the other things to consider with hunting with pellet rifles: precision is going to be crucial. You're going to want to aim for vital areas. Effective range is going to be, again, even with the more powerful ones, the really powerful ones, I don't think you're going to get much beyond 100 yards, if that. Most of these, I would say 50 yards and under is going to be where you're at. And again, as I said, there are legal regulations to look at. Again, check your local laws. So popular pellets for hunting, that is another thing to consider. Because now we talked last time about with survivability issues with quieting these little cans. You basically just put cotton padding in there. These are 22s, and these are piranhas, and you can see, I can get it in picture, the tips on those, they're they kind of got these little jaws on them. These are also 14.3 grains, so it's a fairly large pellet. And then you've also got things like these available. And these are pretty nice. I used some of these in one of my other videos. these are pretty nice. They're pretty quiet and they deliver a pretty good punch. I think, are these called the fire something? I will look up the names of these and we'll put that down because these are actually quite good. Now, as far as what other pellet rifles you can use other than these, you can get into things like, now, I would say probably competing with something like this, with this Beeman. You've got something like the Gamma Swarm. Those are nice. I think somebody mentioned one of those in the comments section. You've got the Hatsan Bull Boss. That's at 25 caliber. Those are great for small to medium game. You've got the Benjamin Bulldog in 357. Those are very popular. And at that point, you're looking at stuff like coyotes. And then finally, you've got the AirForce Texan. And that one is, believe it or not, in 50 caliber. It's one of, if not the most powerful air rifles, capable of taking down a deer, believe it or not, in, of course, wherever that's legal. But this is, again, this is just to show you what more is out there for pellet guns, for air rifles. There is a wide variety out there. They are certainly capable. And I think if you are good at hunting rabbits and squirrels, you could definitely feed yourself very well with one of these. And I think these brake barrels or these lever charged ones, these work fine. Now, in a survival situation, if you're trying to gray man it, people may think that this is an actual rifle, though. That's the thing. To the average person, this is going to look like a real rifle. So that's a consideration you want to make too. Whereas, again, something like this, I mean, this really, almost anyone, unless you're a real novice, this is quite obviously an air rifle. But one of these, not so much. It might look like you're carrying an actual rifle. So it is something else to consider. Definitely, I think, something to add to your preps. One of the reasons I made the video for this B3 was because if you don't want to get anything else, as far as air rifles go, if you feel you should have something in your collection at that, I would grab one of these. It's got enough power to get you the food that you need. It's not going to break the bank. It's something that's going to work and work well. It's got very little upkeep, just a bit of oil here and there, and buying a couple tins of pellets, I think you're good. And you can kind of stick this in the corner and not worry about it. And that's going to supply you for quite some time. So when a lot of your other weapons break down or you're out of ammo or whatever, this is something that you can still use and you can still feed yourself with. So folks, that's about all we have for this topic for today. I know people had quite a bit to say about this topic. I'd love to hear more. If you do have any other ideas, please leave them below. I'd love to read your comments. Very excited to see more of this coming out. So on your way out the door, if you could, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, don't forget to fire off a shot at that bell notification. And folks, we will see you soon. This is Tack Nerd, and I am out of here.